Let the church say amen. Seventh Sunday is back with an all-gospel live theme music show entitled Kingdom Come. Ladies and gentlemen, join us at the historic Chappelle Auditorium located at Allen University Friday, March the 31st at 7 p.m. Coming to the stage, we have Grammy Award-winning artist Molly Music.
The Lord is dead. All right, y'all.
Sunday Best finalist Kristen Jameson. And our very own Team 7. This event is sponsored by South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus and serves as a fundraiser for dapper and distinguished gentlemen. Go to www.number7sunday.live to get your tickets for Kingdom Come on Friday, March 31st at 7 p.m. It's only going to get more gooder.
We didn't have much, but the Lord been good to me.
Welcome to King's Table. On this show, we will start a conversation and hope that you, the viewer, will keep it going. In this season, we will have a conversation about friendship and church hurt to fatherhood and blended families. So without further ado, I bring you King's Table. I have my brothers with me, the two of the three guys that will always hold me accountable, will always speak their truth, even if it makes me upset. Will always let me know what's going on, regardless of the situation, and has always been there. So I have Mr. A.C. Davis to my right, Mr. J.B. SamSon to my left. Two great artists. Oh. If you haven't heard the Single Pig Pen, these are the two guys that was on the Single Pig Pen.
That is right.
Yeah, so these are the two guys that's helped my music career go to another level, whether they know it or not. Well, they know it or not.
I know it.
So he's so humble.
All right. So just so you all know, like these two guys, like I said, are like literally like brothers. Like these guys have been there for me at my lowest times, have been there for me at my highest times. Both of them were in my wedding, and we're missing one. We're missing the jerk of the group.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jay Will.
Usually, yep.
up,
Everybody knew who that was without us dropping the name.
But yeah, I got AC and JB. Again, two great artists. And tonight we're going to talk about loyalty, respect, and friendship. So I'm going to start here with the nice question. What is your definition of loyalty? Either one of you can start first.
Jay, I'll let you go, Jay.
Oh, man. I don't know, man. I feel like in terms of loyalty, I guess loyalty would just really be, are you there? You know, like, are you someone that can be counted on? Are you somebody that if y'all have some sort of squabble of some sorts, are you willing to like work it out? Or are you just done with the person? Now, granted, there's levels to it, right? But I mean, if y'all really homies like that, you're not going to let something insignificant come in between whatever the friendship is. And even if y'all do have some sort of rift, if they really need you, you'll still be there. You know?
See?
I think, yeah, it's kind of similar to what JB said, man. Loyalty to me is, like you said, you know, somebody that's gonna be there through thick and thin, get with good, you know, be in the mud with you, and just kind of, you know, at the same time, be someone, whoever you are in front of me is who you are when my back is turned.
That's right.
You know, and so that's kind of, you know, what loyalty kind of looks like to me. And, you know, so when I look at it, my thing is, and I think a lot of people, they fail to realize, like, sometimes when we look at loyalty, people can be loyal to different aspects. So some people are loyal to you, which means regardless of what you do and who you are. But then sometimes people are loyal to their need of you. And so as long as you are providing what I need, then I'm loyal. But as soon as you stop, then my loyalty switches. And I think that's what really happens.
That's good. So when you look at that, and we talk about respect, of course, everybody, the saying is you have to earn respect to get respect. Right. I think for me, I'm going to give you respect until you show me not to respect you. Which one do you guys think is most needed? Respect or loyalty?
Respect or loyalty? I feel like they almost kind of go hand in hand in a sense. Because I mean, like, if you really respect someone, you're going to be, I guess, loyal enough, or if you have loyalty to someone, you're going to be respectful enough to be like, you know what? I'm not going to talk trash about this person behind their back just because you got a problem. Or I'm not going to, you know, oh, this is advantageous for me, you know, but probably might not necessarily be so for the homie. But forget the homie. I'm just do the thing that's advantageous for me in the moment.
Right.
You know, I feel like whichever side of the coin you want to go with, it's kind of hand in hand sort of thing. I feel like that's just me.
I agree with JB, but I differ only on the slight that, because what he said is true. It goes hand in hand. But I guess the thing that makes me differ is when I look at it, I say, if I can't be loyal to you if I don't respect you. But you can respect someone who you don't have a relationship with. So that's the only thing I say that differs. And
That
so
makes sense.
based off of that, I would put respect as like the starting point. Not necessarily that it's more important, but in order to build loyalty, there has to be respect.
So respect is more so the foundational standing
Right.
for the loyalty.
Right.
Because if you don't have respect, then you can't be loyal to somebody that you don't respect. I'm not gonna be loyal to this guy that I don't really like. Like, you show me time and time again that like you're not a respectable person.
Yeah.
What need do I have to be loyal to you? Regardless of what you may or may not have that could, even if it was helpful or advantageous to me. No, man, I can't respect you. You know?
Because then you look at it, if I'm loyal to you but I don't respect you, then 9 times out of 10, it's not necessarily where I'm doing it because I want to, but it's more so because I'm forced. So it's abusive. So that's not loyalty. That's more of the fear.
That's manipulation.
Yeah, real. That's what that is. So yeah, it's like, I gotta respect you first.
Right.
So
what you said, like, I'm gonna jump back because what you said was earlier about the way you see loyalty, the loyalty for the person, loyalty for the use of the person.
Right.
When you're in that situation, how do you think, for instance, I'm take us for instance, you know what I'm saying? All of us are, I feel, loyal to each other. We
I
respect each
use
other.
you, dog. I ain't gonna.
Hey,
You beat me too. I was like, debatable. That's not what I would have said, but keep going.
we here now.
this is how you can tell it's real friendship. You know what I'm saying? We joke like this a lot.
Or can you? I don't know.
So when you find that situation where when you find out that person is using your loyalty because of the position that you're in, how do you handle certain things like that? Do you just cut them off, or do you just, continue with the relationship to see if that's what it is, what it's about?
It depends on how you view them, right? So, for example, there's always going to be somebody that's going to be there to simply use you, because of the fact that, not even from a spiritual or, religious standpoint, but what we do in life is, we're here to add value to people in some kind of way, whether it's to our, spouse, whether it's to our kids, whether it's to our family. What we do is we bring value to people. And so because we bring value to people, we leave legacy, and that legacy is left for whoever is willing to receive and inherit it. And so there will always be someone that's trying to eat from the table that they may not have been invited to. So it's all about how you see them. And so if you see them as a person who you're trying to connect with on a personal level, but you can tell that it's not mutual, then you need to be careful on how you respond. So you might have to cut that off because it's safer for you then, because you recognize what I want and what you want are not the same. Yeah. But if you don't see them that way, if you don't see them on a personal level, but you can tell that they're there, then you're going to treat them accordingly anyway. Right. You're only going to let them get the parts of you that you don't care about. Or as one of the things the Bible says, the crumbs from the master's table. I wasn't worried about that anyway. Yeah. So the fact that you're going to eat that don't bother me. Gotcha. You see what I'm saying?
That's real.
So like just like a lot of times people say, I can feed you with a long handled spoon. Is that what you think that's that? Do you think that's the loyalty kicking in, just that use of loyalty, that usage loyalty, or I guess you could say? Or you think that's just the person, like, I want to keep you here just to show you what I'm about?
I feel like pretty much a lot of what AC said just makes a lot of sense as far as, like, reading the room of the situation, really. Like, you got just, okay, me and you homies, right? We're homies. something happens where things just seem to go up for me. You're like, yo, man, I'm right there with you. Fire. Everything's good. Now, say for whatever reason, on that way up, something happens and, you need whatever. If I got it and I feel like we're here, cool.
Right.
Now, after that, you need something else. How badly do you really need it? Now, later on, you need something else. And it seems like every time you need something else, it just gets it gets either bigger or after a while, it just becomes heinous. All right, now you're really making me wonder. And it's just one of those things where it's like, do I keep you here, for whatever my use for you is, since you're clearly just using me? Or do I decide, you know what, just completely cut you off because you're not adding anything. You're not adding value. You're just taking value.
Right.
And I think that depends on the type of person you are, how you answer that question.
Right.
Because there's a lot of relationships out there that are very dually one-sided.
Right.
You got a lot of people out here that are like, okay, yeah, we cool, and it's literally just transactional.
Right.
Y'all, act all cute. You take little selfies and stuff and put them on Instagram together. But like at the end of the day, like it's purely transactional. And if that's what you want, if that's what you're okay with, then but I don't necessarily think that that's healthy, So for me personally, like if I feel like you're using me, unless I just really want to get to that personal level with you and help you understand how much I value you and continue to pray that you'll actually see the value in me rather than for what I can do, but just for who I am, then maybe I'll, let it slide and just like keep letting you do what you're doing. But even to that extent, even then, at some point, you got to have that conversation. And sometimes it's difficult to have those kind of tough conversations because you don't want things to come off the wrong way. And especially if you really value that person just as a person.
Right.
And don't want to lose, but then again, maybe that's you using them emotionally.
Right.
Maybe there's a void that you feel like they're feeling that perhaps they're really doing something for you on an emotional level that they're really just like sort of feigning for the sake of making sure they can get whatever it is you got to offer.
Right.
So then it's still kind of transactional in a way.
Right.
So I feel like there can be a lot of levels to it.
So is it really value that you seek in that relationship? Because then now it's to the point where like it's unhealthy for you and that other person, whether we know it or not.
Right.
So do we really value that relationship, or do we just, like you said, need that person in that spot or that position to help fill that? So how do we counter that? If when we see that, do we counter it? Do you counter? Should you counter?
It's tough because, and this is being realistic, right? So because since we here, when you talk like, and I love what James said about it being transactional, right? So basically what it's saying is a lot of times when you look at it, some relationships, and it might be all, even though it's not all the same level and, the perspective might change based off of individuality, it's transactional. Even when I come to you and I decide, hey, man, I would love to be cool, there's selfish motive, selfish intent there. There's a reason why I want to be cool, right? And it's because I see some kind of personal benefit to having you in my life. I feel like you would add value to me. So that's a selfish intent.
Sure.
And so it becomes transactional because I'm expecting something for you. And so what a mess up is when we look at friendships, what most people mess up is I expect something from you that you never guaranteed to give me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so then what ends up happening is we feel mistreated, we feel taken advantage of, we feel disappointed, slighted because this is where I placed you, because this is what I expected for you to do, because this is what I think a friend is.
Right. But that's never who they said they were.
Right. And so that's what really happens is, and so that's why like what James was saying too, it becomes a personal choice. One of the things I try to do is I stop worrying about what I expect people to be to me for me to quote unquote say, you're my friend, right? And I more so lean towards what am I trying to be to them? And then I gauge their response in those environments, in those situations to determine how close we are, and then I'm okay with that space. So it is a simpler way to put it is let people show you how close they need to be to you. And then when they show you, be okay with that. Right. You know, the danger comes in when you try to draw people closer, then they show you that they're comfortable with being. Once they show you that this is how comfortable I am with being close to you, don't put the expectation or the demand on them for something more. Because you're going to damage your relationship with them because you place them somewhere they don't belong.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
It's a bar.
That's good.
It's a bar.
So when we look at the male's perspective of a friendship, which is sometimes there's a lot of egos involved.
There can be.
Yeah. Sometimes a lot of pride can be involved.
Here's looking at you, Jay Will.
Somebody had to say it. I
God,
guess.
he's gonna get me when he sees this. My phone is gonna.
Yo, I can see him watching this now. Oh, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. Don't worry, I'm gonna get you.
You jerk.
Hey, see.
Oh man.
Yeah, I seen the video, man.
I see the show, man. I saw the show.
So when you have those situations, and when you think about like our friendship is very. I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's not as often as you should see men in the friendship. Like I can actually call y'all, like, and it's one of the hardest things I think for all of us is to call if we need help.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I just need $10 until tomorrow. It's literally to tomorrow. But I don't want to call this dude and say I need $10 for gas tomorrow.
Even though when I give you $10, I'm not gonna look for it for tomorrow, but you still struggle to call me for $10 for tomorrow.
Right. So it's the point. It's that point where it's there, right? But then, like for instance, I'm just saying how our friendship is. Like AC knows the hurt that I've been through, and James, you caught the tail end of it, but you've seen the happiness that I've been in. So, like for instance, AC was there when a lot of people literally turned their back on me, and said AC and Jay were there when that happened, and said, "Yo, we're gonna stick with you. We're gonna ride with you. We're gonna make sure you get through this."
Right.
And then when I got through it, it's like, okay, dang, how do I continue living?
Right.
Then like I met my wife, and this is just about the time you came. We got closer, and you seen the happiness, the happy side of, yo, this guy's a pretty good guy. He's not, you know what I'm saying? I still was kind of off a little bit, but
I mean,
still,
all.
how can men
We're all mad here.
get to a relationship like that, to be vulnerable with each
The
other?
homies.
James, man, I'm gonna let you start that one off.
All right. Well, I'm just go ahead and make it clear that our friendship is purely transactional, because this man done called me by my government name like 4 times already. So I see what's really up.
He has not been JB on the show yet.
Except the intro.
I thought we was being professional. I don't know. Don't put me in.
Let's get Siri one to find out.
Oh, wow.
Man,
Wow. You going to bring Siri in? You really trying to get the government
Siri
involved.
don't be listening, bro.
The question at hand: how do men get into, I guess, friendships where you can actually share that vulnerability?
Yeah.
Honestly, just feeling like they can trust you. Like if I don't feel like I can trust you, then there's no point. I think that's a tough question to answer, because unfortunately, a lot of us as men were brought up in certain ways, right? I was brought up predominantly raised by my mother. Like my dad was very much involved, but my parents were separated, you know what I'm saying, from a very young age. And most of my time was spent with my mother, especially since he was in the military. He moved around a lot. Guy my mom remarried to was in the military. We moved around a lot. And so, just from the jump, it's like the story that I was told was, this didn't work out because he can't be trusted. Okay, so it's like, still think my dad is super cool, but I guess there's something there.
Right.
And then this new guy comes into the picture. I don't really know this guy. And since he's not my dad, just off the rip, I don't really like this guy.
Right.
There's nothing really wrong with the guy. I just don't know him.
Right.
So not really sure I can trust you there. And you just fast forward, and it's like constantly running into men that you like, I don't know if I can trust you. Because you got egos involved, and you got this and that, and just, again, transactionalism. Like feeling like people are using you for certain things. Go through middle school and high school and don't really have a circle of people that you can really count on, that sort of thing. And so you constantly just trying to figure out, like, who can I trust? And then you run into people that you feel like you can and find out that you can't.
That's the one.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like there's so many levels and layers to all of it. And so I think, unfortunately, it comes with a certain degree of trial and error.
Yeah.
You know? But it also comes with a level of discernment, which, of course, comes from the trial and error over the years. And then you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, I can read the room a little better now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can distinguish, which pack of gummies is actually, like, the better pack of gummies.
Right.
Like, am I going to go with Lifesavers? Those are pretty good. Am I going to go with Haribo? Absolutely not. Too hard. Am I going to go with Welch's? Those are pretty solid. But at the end of the day, I figured out Albanese gummies are where it's at.
Yep. This
All
man
in.
gets it.
Albanese gummies are where it's at, right? Hands down. They got the best flavor. They got the best consistency. They're not super chewy. They don't get stuck in your teeth, but they're not all hard. And they still got a little bit of softness to them. You know what I'm saying? Just right. When it comes to finding a friendship with another man that you can really, like, share those, whether it's your highest highs or your lowest lows with, it unfortunately is going to come with a level of, okay, that didn't work out. That didn't work out. That didn't work out. But wait a minute. Something's here. We might be vibing now.
Right.
And once you get to that point where you can distinguish, all right, I can tell from across the room, you ain't it. You know what I'm saying? We done had a couple conversations. Just doesn't feel right. You, all right, you're an acquaintance. But then it's like, yo, this right here, this is a homie. This is a friend.
Right.
This is what it's about. If I can tell you, like, man, I don't know. And you're like, yo, what's good? You know what I'm saying? If we see each other and you're like, yo, what's going on? How you doing? And you like, nah, but for real. You might actually be the homie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Casey, what's your take?
Everything that James said. Everything that JB said. Let me correct it. 'Cause I feel like it's some tension. I feel like I'm falling further and further away from the friend zone. But nah, I said, like, just because he took it there with the transparency, like growing up in the background that I did, my father was in the house, so it wasn't that I didn't have a relationship with him. I'm not saying that because he noted today he had a relationship, he just was predominantly raised. But for me, it's kind of similar. Like my mom was more involved, hands-on, where my father was more of a, and I'm kind of the same way, because I guess it just passed down, and I'm learning to be different. But his thing was, my presence is my presence, like not my hands-on activity. So
I'm in the house.
Yeah, I'm in the house, I'm here.
Yeah.
So, I'm involved, but I don't have to do it. And so I kind of saw that, but he was a very domineering individual, do what I say, kind of thing. And so for a child, that creates a psychology in your mind to where you become inertly submissive and a people pleaser.
Yes.
So I kind of grew up with that mindset for a long time, which kind of coincided to how I dealt with relationships with people. So I would oftentimes, whenever I tried to build any type of bond, my desire was kind of to do whatever they asked me to do. And so, yeah, a lot of my friendships, a lot of people who I was cool with were kind of more so people who tried to take advantage of me. And it was harder for me to figure out who was it.
That part.
Right. So it's like it's really unique to the individual. What's your experiences? What's your trauma? What's your history that determines how you view and how you determine what's a positive relationship and how it's going to look for you.
That's real.
And so that's kind of how I had to figure it out. And like James said, it's really just trial and error. And so one of the things that you have to realize, more so to the point of your question, when you're like, how do you find that person who you could be vulnerable with? The first step, really, from a psychological answer, is you can't figure out who you can trust with that open part of you until you open up. And but the danger is you have to be exposed, right? And so it's really just kind of like a gradual process. So you kind of, as you build relationships, don't give people access to parts of you so early. Let them prove to you over time that they're worthy of even being that close.
Exactly.
You have to understand the value of who you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Before people put a value on you.
Exactly.
And then that'll actually help you to build relationships. When you understand your value, you won't give people access that they don't deserve under the guise of being friendly. Because you haven't earned that. Right? You know what I'm saying? And it's not me being big, it's not me being proud or puffed up, but it's me understanding that, you know, there's a certain value to me. There's a reason why you're trying to get this close. And I'm not going to figure out that reason unless I give you time to show me. So
another part of that too is like you talking about, you know, I'm not being puffed up. I'm not trying to act like I'm that guy. But I think the other part of that is actually like realizing I do have value.
Right.
It's taken and still is taking me some time to realize like I do add value to a room when I walk in.
Right.
Like you have to be okay with being able to make that statement. You have to be okay saying like, no, I'm valuable, you know? And I think especially as, you know, Christian men, we have been sort of indoctrinated. We've been indoctrinated to, you know, put on the shield of humility at all times. And that's great. It's real cute. But at the end of the day, if all you are is this super humble person all the time, then somebody's going to take advantage of it. And I've learned the lesson the hard way enough times to know, all right, at some point, I got to be able to let people know, like, nah, I'm fine. Like, nah, I bring value. And once you're able to actually, like, establish for yourself, I have value to add, then you can start, like you said, giving people time to prove to you, like, okay, here's another inch. In order to, like, learn that you have value, you have to learn to, in order to learn that you have value, and also in order to learn how and who you can trust and when you can trust them, you also have to learn to trust yourself. And if you don't know how to trust yourself because you've been psyched out and screwed over and manipulated and gaslit time and time again, you get to a point where it's like you don't realize it, but you don't trust you anymore. Because it's like, I done let these people in and they done ran the train basically.
Right.
It's like, I don't know what to do now. And so you got to learn to trust yourself and re-remember and re-realize who you actually are and the value that you have in order to know who you can trust and how much you can let them in.
Before you jump there, I just had to say it because that's what I was trying to think about what I was trying to do. But one of the things I thought about too is like, even what James was saying to that point, like growing up, right? You just for an example, right? You grow up, you have these homies. And so you talk to your homie about your girl or whatever, and come to find out after talking to your homie about your girl, that same homie go and try your girl, right? And then you find out about it, and now you crush because you was like, I couldn't trust her and I couldn't trust him.
So now,
so who can I trust? Right. And so it's like, these are real life experiences that happen to people, and then you have to go through life trying to figure out how to build relationships and genuine relationships with people and learn how to keep people close and where I can keep you and what's a safe space to trust and all of that stuff. So just going through that is like, for a man, it's hard because, you know, for a lot of us who grew up, and like you said, it's trial and error. I've seen so many people who I thought I could trust, but they could trust me way more than I could trust them. And so it's like, what do I do with that? Like, so at some point you get to the point where you're like, I don't feel like trusting nobody because it's not worth it. It's not worth the disappointment that comes. But, you know what I'm saying, the educated answer that you learn with time is that everybody has a certain capacity that they're able to be trusted with.
Right.
And it's like when you let them pass that capacity is when they dishonor your trust. It's just like no different than with my children. It's certain things I could trust my daughter with, or I could trust my daughter to do that I may not be able to trust my son to do. You know, you got that one child, if you tell them go clean their room, you ain't got to look back, they're going to do it. You got the other child, you tell them go clean their room, you got to keep checking on them. So your trust is, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to worry about it. But when I tell you, I'm going to keep checking. You learn through process. And so you put them in proper perspective. I love you both the same. I honor you both the same, but I treat you based off of what you've shown me you're able to trust. And so we learn to do that with our kids, but we don't know how to do that with people that we're trying to quote unquote be friends with. And so we have this misconception that a friend is somebody who I can just quote unquote just trust undeniably. But really a friend is just basically where a person stands in proximity to you.
Right.
And so you got close friends, and then, you know, we use terms like that. This is just an associate. This is just da-da-da-da. But that's really it's all about proximity. And then you just learn not to let nobody know closer than what they deserve. Period.
That was good, man. And that's what this show's about, everyone that's watching. Thank you for tuning to the show. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and you're able to take this conversation to your friends and your family. When you have this conversation on social media, make sure you hashtag King's Table. Again, I am your host, Idris IICE Pearson. Tune in next time for more King's Table.